think the biggest lesson that I've learned is trusting your intuition. You know when something is out of balance and it's not feeling right, and really sitting with that and trying to look within and see, okay, what is the situation trying to tell me, and then acting on it, and not just putting it back. Like, don't stick it back in the pocket and say, I'll think about that later. No, really sit with it and try to figure out, what is this trying to tell me, and then trusting that what you're feeling is going to lead you in the right direction.
Welcome to Real Money, Real Life, the podcast where we get real about money and the messy human stuff that comes with it. I'm Linda Grizely, financial educator and your Me Money guide to financial clarity. Each week, we dive into financial concepts and money strategies, but we always tie it back to real life, emotions, mindset, and how money actually shows up day to day. If you're ready for practical tools, mindset shifts, and honest conversations that meet you where you are, not where the world thinks you should be, you're in the right place. Because you deserve to feel confident with your money and good about how you use it. No judgment, no lectures, and definitely no putting yourself last.
Hello, everyone. It's Linda here. If you're listening, you're one of the real ones, the ones willing to reinvent yourself, take risks, and build a life that actually fits who you are. Today, we're going to talk about what it looks like to pivot careers, embrace change, and build financial freedom on your own terms. My guest knows this path well. After 25 years in banking, she left corporate world to create something new in property management. We'll talk about the lessons she's learned, the setbacks she's faced, and how she's helping others step into lives that are aligned with their purpose. Kim Egger is the visionary behind Treasures in Heaven Property Management. Her career didn't begin in property management. It was forged over 25 years in the world of banking, where she rose from her first role as a teller all the way to EVP of Commercial Banking, specializing in commercial and real estate lending. Along the way, Kim navigated triumphs, setbacks, and lessons that shaped her into the leader she is today. Now her mission goes beyond managing properties. She's passionate about helping others reclaim their time, build true financial freedom, and step boldly into a life aligned with their purpose. Welcome, Kim.
Hi, Linda. Great to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here. And just so our listeners know, Kim and I actually know each other. We go a pretty ways back.
Uh-huh.
We don't know each other, super well. We're not besties or anything, but we had a lot of things that were aligned, and we stayed in touch over the years. And we participated in a leadership greater McHenry County program together back in 2019 before she moved out to beautiful Sedona, Arizona, and recreated herself. So I'm actually very much
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to this conversation as well. So, Kim, the first thing I would like to know is your journey from banking to property management. Tell us about how you got where you are now.
Sure. Thanks, Linda. And I do think that it's crazy how we came together in our partnership going back years and years ago. We were both in completely different fields at that time. And now we've created our own businesses. I never would have anticipated that for myself, for sure. So, as you said, I've had 25 years in banking experience. I started out way back at the age of 14 working at a small community bank. And my dad got me my first job, and I was doing proof work and running the teller machine. And I just gradually worked my way up through the bank. And before I knew it, flash forward 20 years, I am an executive vice president in commercial banking, very heavily on the sales side. My passion was always customer service and serving, and I loved relationship building. But what I found was that I was so ingrained with my customers and wanting to be of service to them. It was difficult when I wasn't able to, I'll say, get a sale done or close a loan. So if they came to me with this, grandeur idea of starting this business, and I wasn't able to get them the funding they needed, it was really personally, it hurt me, and it ended up affecting my health. And in 2022, I had a pulmonary embolism. It was actually January 2nd, and fiscal year ended in 2021. And I was in an organization where I worked with over 20 different lenders. I was a female lender. one and only. And I ended up with this pulmonary embolism because I didn't perform top of standard. I always wanted to be number one. I'm very, very driven at performance. And I found that it was affecting my health. And so when I took a step back, I realized I really wasn't fulfilling what I was called to do. I was fulfilling what my dad set up for me, which was to be in banking. And so I took a major leap of faith and I quit my job. W 2, very lucrative, paid me well, great benefits, lots of time off. I ended up quitting that job and I moved to Sedona, Arizona. And there, I really did not know what I was going to do. I knew I did not want to go into banking, but I had a strong passion for real estate. And so I decided to start doing property management. Sedona is it's a high tourist town, and there were lots of Airbnbs in the area. And I picked up my first Airbnb. This would have been in the fall of 2022. I started managing, and I gradually just started adding properties on. I added on about 3 properties the first couple years, 3 in 2023, 3 in 2024. And then at that point, I had all of my systems and processes in place, and I decided to scale out further. Brought my daughter on board with me to be my partner, and we now have 13 properties under management, and we're growing steadily. We average 1 to 2 properties a month that we're adding onto the books. And I envision by the end of next year, we will have 40 properties under management. And at that point in time, I will be able to transition from really being the business operator to just being the business owner high level, and transitioning myself into more of a coaching space and a retreat space where I can help other people make that transition from W-2 job into creating their own business, whatever it is that they want, and generating excellent money in this process. Probably the greatest success I had was being able to double my income just by taking that leap and changing, starting something new and growing it. And it's been wonderful.
Wow, what a story. So here you are, you're an executive VP at a bank, and I'm assuming you're getting paid very well here, and you realize that it's affecting your health. So you just take a leap of faith. Now, if anybody knows my story, I've taken a few leaps myself, but
Yeah.
it's always amazing to hear, like, you took this leap, you just up and moved to Arizona, and you have no idea what you're going to do. And now you've doubled your income. Like, you're making more than you were making then. That's
Yeah.
amazing. What a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to, like, when you finally find what you're aligned with and what you really feel like you're meant to do, how powerful that can be. So tell us more about the lessons that you've learned from that journey.
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is trusting your intuition. You know when something is out of balance and it's not feeling right, and really sitting with that and trying to look within and see, okay, what is the situation trying to tell me, and then acting on it, and not just putting it back. Like, don't stick it back in the pocket and say, I'll think about that later. No, really sit with it and try to figure out, what is this trying to tell me? And then trusting that what you're feeling is going to lead you in the right direction. I think the other biggest thing that I learned is that really there is abundance and infinite supply everywhere that we go. And when you're working in alignment with the skills and the gifts that you are given, that abundance and that wealth, it just starts to it comes to you naturally, and it doesn't feel like work. It's a joy. So I have more of a service mindset as opposed to a worker mindset. I'm here to serve my guests. I'm here to serve the owners. I'm here to create experiences. I'm here to make people's lives better. And that brings me joy. And in return, that joy just attracts more into my universe.
Yeah, what a great perspective and outlook on life for sure. So, why do you think that so many people dream of like leaving their job, or even just pivoting a career, like moving from one thing to another, but they don't ever take this step?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will say, I had several times before making this leap, I did ponder changing careers outside of banking, doing something different in a different industry. What was holding me back really was fear. It was the fear of the unknown, the fear that I wasn't good enough to do anything else. That I was comfortable. I was going to have to get outside of my boundaries and really stretch, and I didn't know if I trusted myself to do that. So it took a lot of courage and faith in myself, flipping that fear factor to faith and just believing that if it was planted within me, this thought, then that thought was meant to grow. And and I know that just from personal experience, what held me back was just being stuck in these past paradigms of, growing up and experiencing some childhood trauma and some trauma throughout my marriage. It plants those seeds of, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, who do you think you are? And probably the biggest one was you don't deserve it. And and to realize and come back to myself and realize that no, I am worth it. I am good enough. I am smart enough. I will figure it out. And knowing too, trusting the connections that I had made throughout my whole banking career and through my life. So I'm developing all these relationships over 45 years and knowing intuitively that if there's something I can't do, I will know somebody that can help me do it. And, really being able to express myself to the people that I know around me with, if I needed help with something, just being able to have the courage to go to them and say, hey, I'm really struggling here. Do you have any thoughts? Do you know anyone that can help me? And being able to, it takes, we're very prideful people and we don't often like to ask for help. And so being able to set the pride aside and say, no, wait a second, like I'm here to serve and, I'm here to create experiences. And the only way that I can do that is to step outside of myself and to give.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Were there mindset shifts that you had to make during that process? Like, I mean, you talked about like the things, the stories you were telling yourself, like you're not, how you're not good enough or
Hmm.
you don't deserve it. But how did you help shift that mindset
Yeah.
and move forward past it?
Yeah, there were definitely huge mindset shifts. Probably the largest shift that I had to make was outside of my transition from Illinois to Arizona, was finding a new group of people to surround myself by that would help lift me up. So, looking for people that, they had started businesses, they were entrepreneurs, they were thought leaders, and surrounding myself with those people made a huge impact on me. Because I would then, when I would start to have those feelings of, I mean, I can think to when I was adding on my fifth property and I was really struggling because it was just myself and I'm trying to onboard it, manage guest communications, manage housekeeping, manage maintenance. I still have my partner that, we're in a relationship with. I'm trying to, foster that relationship. I'm trying to still be with my family who's back in Illinois and just really the mindset of like overwhelm and how do I overcome this and just speaking to somebody who had experienced before and having them give me the same tools that they were using. You have to, number one, you have to take care of yourself. You have to have your mind in a good place. And so some of the tools that I learned over time was practicing visualization. Who do I want to be? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to serve? Where am I? Like, what does my life, my ideal life, look like? So the visualization, like rewriting my self image. I knew who I was when I was in Illinois. I didn't know who I was when I went to Arizona. And I had to figure that out. And I did that through visualization and through journaling, writing down, what what would the future Kim be doing? If she were in Arizona managing this business, what does her day look like? What does her weekends look like? Coupling that with doing meditative work, doing a lot of grounding practices. We are blessed in Arizona. We have a ton of sunshine. The weather is great. The energy here is positive. Being in the Red Rocks, being able to get out in nature, have your feet in the dirt, go hiking, go cycling, all of those things that bring you back to center because you're grounded back with the earth and where you came from. So that was a huge help for me as well, was taking care of myself and taking care of my mind through those practices of visualization, meditation, grounding, physical fitness was a big part of that as well. Obviously, I suffered a pulmonary embolism, and I was so overworked and not creating time for myself to be able to be physically fit, not eating properly. So transitioning the environment was just a lifesaver for me because it allowed me the opportunity to get back into those practices of taking care of my physical health, which and eating right and drinking enough water and taking proper nutrients combined with the sunshine. So yeah, taking care of myself was definitely, I would say that was the biggest paradigm shift that I had, because I was always taught that when you're in a service role or a sales role, you take care of everyone else. And in order to take care of everyone else, you do have to take care of yourself first. So I had to rewrite how I practice living.
Yeah. It's funny because, my whole me money concept is about putting yourself first with your money, right?
Yeah.
And we always talk about that. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to put on your oxygen mask first on the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, we always talk about it, putting yourself first. And yet we as women somehow always end up feeling like we have to take care of everybody else and put ourselves last. And I'm not sure why we're so programmed like that. I mean, part of it's our society and how we grew up, but it seems like it would be easier to just be like, yep, I'm just going to do that now. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's really hard to do. So tell me more about like how, like you said you did meditating and journaling and
Mm-hmm.
visualizing, and did you yourself use a coach to help you through that process?
Absolutely. And I am so grateful. I've had several coaches now throughout the past few years, but my first coach that I had was a life coach, and she's actually co-hosting a retreat with me coming up next weekend. And Jess was instrumental because she took me through this process of finding out what my soul salary was. So I was so focused on, I can think back throughout the years, when I first made, I started out making, I think it was like 5.25 an hour, and then you make 7 and then 10 and then, 20. And then I remember, reaching, I want to make 40,000 a year. I want to make 80,000 a year. And everything was like, I want to make, I want to make, I want to make. And it was so focused on that number piece, and just really brought me back to like, okay, but what's your soul telling you is going to make you happy? Because you'll find that, again, when you're working in alignment with what your purpose is and what your gifts are, that money will authentically follow. So she was the one who helped me with that big transition to just quit my job and move to Arizona, because I had realized at that point in time, my goal was to simply serve, build relationships, create experiences. And I wasn't able to do that to the full extent as a commercial lender because I was working for someone else, and there were constraints to where I couldn't fulfill all of my clients' needs. So I transitioned into morphing this business where I was in control and I could create the experiences, I could build the relationships. And it's just been a beautiful thing that she has taught me. And I've added on to that. So since working with Jess, I have had two other very profound coaches. One has been on the business side, coaching me through how to actually go through the steps of building my business. And then I also have a mindset coach, which keeps me on track with the whole concept of just remembering that that when you're serving and you're giving with purpose, there's an infinite abundant supply in the universe. And if you tap into what you're supposed to be doing, it flows back. So it's been a combination of, really three people in my lives that have been there. I will always have a coach in my life in some aspect.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like you need someone to be that trusted partner that's not a friend or a family member. It's really going to give you that unbiased outside opinion. I mean, you might become friendly with them, but it's different when you're in that type of relationship. And they really do help you walk through things in a different way than friends or family might. So I completely understand
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
so
true. Yeah, I think so just leading into that, if I would have consulted with my then group of friends and family, and I did when I expressed that I quit my job, everybody thought I was crazy. The I didn't get it wasn't like, oh, high five, congratulations. It was like, what the heck did you just do? Are you nuts? So yeah, having the coach there to be like, you're not crazy.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's actually talk more about that because that's one of the big things in making any sort of transition that where you feel like you're serving yourself by making the transition are the shoulds because everybody else is like, "Oh my gosh, you should stay where you are. You should be content. You should be happy. You should be grateful. Like you have this wonderful." And they don't understand like what that
Yeah.
really inside like there's a disconnect inside and they don't sometimes see that or understand why that matters so much.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I think it was a surprise for a lot of people because also I don't know if this is, being a female or being a mom or I had taken care of my parents when they were sick, but I always had to have like a smile on my face, be happy, everything's good. How are you? It's great. Life is good. And so that full expression of like presenting that I have this grand life and I'm doing wonderful as a banker, my family's perfect, and that it was such a shock when people were like, wait a second. And yeah, so to be able to let that guard down and like really become my truth self, yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Okay, so let's talk about how you're helping others now. So you now have made this transition and you have doubled your income from what you were doing by leaning into property management and serving others through that. And like you said, now you're scaling that business, but now you have another dream to help other women. I don't know if it's just women, but other people. You can tell me more about that. But make the sort of transition that you just made, and you've already started coaching people on your own to do that. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So when we talk about being able to, when you're serving in alignment with your purpose and what your gifts are, what I found was in growing my co hosting business, that gave me the background and the financial ability that I needed to be able to further my pursuit into coaching other people. So, with my property management co hosting business right now, the way that it's set up is I have an owner come to me, they own a property and they don't want to manage it. They don't want to deal with the guests, they don't want to manage the booking sites, they don't want to deal with the operations, so they hire me for a contractual fee to be able to manage that. And I leverage through my business coach a model to be able to strategically choose where I wanted to manage that, where I wanted to grow and manage that business. And leveraging some tactics on the business side, I was able to scale and double my income quickly based on the business side. And through that, I just want to say too, and it just kind of hit me, how that's helped me and my self esteem because I came from this background of you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you can't do it, to all of a sudden realizing like, wait a second, I can do this, and I just did it. And being able to show other people that side that no, wait, you can do it as long as you're following your purpose. So helping others, in particular women, I have a fondness for coaching. In my past, suffered trauma. In my childhood, suffered trauma throughout my marriage, and really, I didn't even realize that I was limiting my potential and limiting myself and my growth because of the past paradigms I created from the trauma. And it took me about 5 years to really overcome that and realize the fact that I could accomplish anything I wanted. And so from there, being able to show other women, no matter what situation you're in, you do have the abilities and tools to get yourself out of that. You do not have to stay stagnant. You do not have to stay in a situation. This is your life and you are created for your purpose. And so teaching women how they find their purpose and out of that create a business of their own. And through that business, that money will flow. And so I'm now coaching women to do that same thing, how they find what their passion is, how they can transfer that into a business of their own. And through that aspect, they can then pay it forward to other people. And so through the coaching, I'm able to accomplish that. And then I also like to bring the women together in the retreat space as well, because I feel that the personal connection is really important to build relationships outside of your normal friend group and your family group, to have another group of individuals that are outside of that. We'll call it there's 5 tiers of your relationships. The first is yourself and with the higher power. And then the second one is usually your family. And then your third is your closest friends. But really finding women outside of that group, or people that you can become a part of, is really integral. So the retreat space is critical for that aspect, to helping them expand into other relationships outside of the ones that they currently have that will foster growth in them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what would you say to someone who is like, I want all of that, but I'm afraid, or I can't afford it, or all of those things that they're telling themselves, and what do you say to them?
Okay, that's a great question. I tell them talk to Linda. No. Linda, I know you and I are very much in alignment on this. So,
I think we are, but I want to hear you. I want the
yeah,
listeners to hear your answer.
yeah. The first thing I usually say is they need to eliminate the vocabulary, the word can't, don't, all those negative words that we pass through our heads. They have to flip that into a positive manner. When somebody says to me like, I can't make that much money, I will say to them first, well, why can't you? I don't have the skills, or I don't have the connections, or I don't have the abilities. And usually they're focused in one field. And I did this for 25 years in banking. I thought all I could do was banking. I thought that was the only place I would ever make money, was in banking. And so getting them to more critically think about, first off, what is it they like to do? And is there something that they like to do that they can share with others and teach others? So utilizing more of a teaching model is very instrumental, because it gets them to think about like, okay, I'm a commercial banker, but what is it that I actually like to do? I like to serve people. I used to serve on many boards with Habitat for Humanity and through the chambers and education foundations. And so I had a passion for serving. And I thought, okay, well, what skill could I leverage with? I like to serve, and I have this skill in real estate, and I have an accounting degree. What else can I do that compare those gifts together? And that's what helped me come up with, well, I could manage properties. I could invest in property. I know how to underwrite. I know how to underwrite a property. So just thinking about what other things I could do outside of my primary job. Also teaching them too. And I know, Linda, you are definitely the expert on this, but number one, people aren't saving money. So As you teach, they need to pay themselves. They have to set some money aside. But then also, learning really truly how to budget. Where is their money going? Why don't they have enough money? What are they spending it on? And how can they reallocate that somewhere else? So yeah, it's twofold. It's how do they create money, a different revenue stream, generating a new revenue stream, but then also controlling expenses and budgeting and paying yourself as well on the other aspect.
Yeah, all good answers and all good things to think about. All right, so if you were going to give someone one small step that they could take this week to start moving forward towards making that change towards their financial freedom, moving from, I would say, from their corporate into their next level of life, what would that be? What would that small step be?
Okay. There's so many that you could do, but I would say a very good first step would be you have to change your mindset. So I would say to study, start reading. If you don't like to physically read, listen, do Audible, like listen to a book, listen to podcasts, follow the people that you like and that are successful and figure out what are they doing. So studying is a big component of it. And the second component really is figuring out who you are. So the steps that I talked about earlier, the visualization of where do you want to be? How do you see yourself? What do you look like? Where do you live? Who do you hang out with? Where do you eat dinner? Like, what do you want your life to look like? Who is that person? So the more you begin to study, not only books and other people, but you start to study yourself and you learn what you like, gradually you start to take on those characteristics the more that you do it. So, so I would say study others, study yourself, compare and contrast the two and think, okay, how can I use this to move forward?
Yep, I do. I give the same basic advice too, um, and also letting go of fear and perfection and old expectations is another thing too
Yeah,
that I usually have them do. Which is part of that visualization and
it
journaling to
is.
what your future self looks like is like, you're who you're going to be tomorrow is not who you were yesterday.
Right. For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So if there's one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember from your story, what is it?
I would say the big takeaway is to believe in yourself, trust in yourself, find out what your purpose is and follow it. And you will not go wrong. You will be led in the right direction if you just stay focused on what your purpose is and pay it forward.
I agree. And I needed to hear that today myself. So thanks. Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
All right. And so now who needs to find you? Who should come and find you and connect with you? And
Yeah. Yeah,
who are those
anybody,
people?
I would say anybody who's feeling stagnant where they are. So they feel stuck. They have this they know inside of them there's something that's vibrating, telling them that they want to do more. They know they're meant for more. They know they have a greater purpose, but they can't find it out, can't find it. They're stuck in a job that they don't like. I mean, it makes me sad to think back of all the years of spending in a career that was not satisfying, and working 5 days a week just to get to the weekend. You want every day to be the weekend. So anyone that's looking for more happiness, joy, they want to feel unstuck. They may have issues with self-confidence. They want to figure out a way to generate more revenue. There's just those would be the people I would want to touch. Is really anybody that knows that they have more in their heart to give and they just can't figure out how to accomplish it.
Right. And where can they find you? Where's the best place for them to
Yeah,
go to get in touch with you?
sure. The best place to go would be at my website, which is rethink-propertymanagement.com. And there you'll actually find links to all of my social media.
Okay, great. And I'll put the links and your website in the notes for the show.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be inspired by your story, and hopefully they will reach out to you.
Thanks,
I also
Linda.
want to mention that I have my free community. So listeners, a space for real talk, fresh starts, and women who are done putting themselves last. If you want to join my free community, I will put that link in the show notes too. And my nugget to leave with everyone from this episode is financial freedom doesn't just mean more money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we're talking about money, it's really about choices and peace and finding alignment with what matters to you most. So thanks again for this conversation, Kim. And until next time, the real ones, I will see you then.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Real Money, Real Life. Want to see what's blocking you from financial confidence or discover your money personality? Head to the resources page at lindagriz.com for our free quizzes. That's LINDAGRIZ.com/resources. If you're loving what you're learning, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. I'm your Me Money Guide to Financial Clarity, Linda Grizely, and I'll catch you next time as we talk more real money, real life, because you deserve to feel confident with your money and good about how you spend it. The content shared here is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not financial, tax, legal, or planning advice and does not constitute therapy or mental health counseling. Please consult an actively licensed and qualified professional for advice or help specific to your situation.